some listener emails on episode 445 of the Actual Astronomy Podcast. I'm Chris. Joining me is Shane. We are amateur astronomers who love looking up at the sky, and this podcast is for everybody who enjoys going out under the stars. So we've had a few listener emails, though nobody emailed to say, how come you guys didn't put out a podcast for 2 weeks?
Yeah, there's that. And I think we got a little bit behind in a few of the emails that were sent. And we still have that book giveaway, Chris. I just thought of it now. Maybe we do it next episode or something. But the Stars,
good.
a month-by-month tour of the constellations with your guide, Mike Lynch. So we do have to get to that.
Yes, we should. We should for sure. Yeah, good reminder. Yeah, just summer and vacation. And of course, I got sick. So we're just recording this after the last show. So no updates on that. I do see a fire in the distance. So if I do have to run suddenly, it is on the other side of the lake, but there's a lot of fire going on over there. A lot of smoke happening. Dang. That is not what you want to see on an otherwise somewhat smoky day already. Wow. Well, we'll keep our eye on that one. Okay. So we had an email from Joey. I feel like this one's really up your alley, Shane, because I think you did some digging on this. So maybe I'll read it and you can kind of chime in with your remarks.
Sure.
Joey says, hello, Chris and Shane. Do you have any recommendations for avoiding bug bites during observing sessions? I use a thermocell sometimes, but I always feel a little uneasy about something releasing vapors around my optics, though I have not heard of any stories of bad outcomes online. I usually opt for a Shannon Outdoors bug tamer jacket and pants. These have a foam mesh on the inside of the fabric that prevents mosquitoes proboscis from reaching your skin to take a drink. They breathe quite well and are quite comfortable on warm nights when bugs are more plentiful. I have yet to get a bite while wearing the suit. When I have observed in locations with massive mosquito populations, I'm usually safe from bites. But I've also found that I need earplugs to keep the whine of bugs from triggering my instinct to retreat from the area. I'd be interested in hearing what you do to stay safe from bug bites. Cheers, Joey.
Yeah, good questions. So I use a thermocell quite regularly when I'm out observing. Excuse me. So it's the heated one, that has the little blue pads, and I think it does a really good job. Now, one big caveat to that is if there's any kind of a wind, then it doesn't do a very good job. Like it does sort of require some stillness or, at the most a light breeze. But it creates, I think it's like a 20-foot in diameter sort of, zone where it's effective against the mosquitoes. So his question or concern around it, being an issue with the optics, I just don't set it up like right beside me. I set it up 10 to 15 feet away from me, so that, hopefully it sort of has the effectiveness on the mosquitoes, but it's not really affecting me or my optics. And I've been using those, for 10 or 15 years, and I can't say that it's caused any issues on my optics. So yeah, I'm a big believer in the thermocell. I like that a lot. But other things that I do for bug protection is just like wear, pants and a jacket usually, or long sleeves, and even like a neck gaiter, which sometimes you can get insulated ones. I have like both insulated and like a real lightweight one. Some people use those just to keep the sun off of their neck during the daytime, but they're also effective at, keeping the mosquitoes away. And then I also have some of that clothing that's lined with like mosquito repellent from Mark's Work Wearhouse. Like it's all natural. Like, I don't know if it's citronella or what. And that stuff is not too bad as well. But I usually just stick to the thermocell and wearing longer, or just covering up. And, part of that, is that where we live, it kind of cools off at night. So you're probably not wearing shorts and a t-shirt anyway here when you're observing. Sometimes during the summer, maybe, but for the most part, when we're really out observing, you need some insulation and some protection from the elements.
Mm. Mm. I bought one of those thermocells. Used it
Okay.
once, didn't work too bad. Left it outside. It rained. I think that pretty much did it in. Didn't work after that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my problem, I guess. But yeah, they don't work too bad. Like I've noticed when we've had bad nights and you've brought yours out, even observing just nearby you, like I would say the bugs are reduced by two-thirds or three-quarters or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Like once I deploy it, I typically don't have any issues with mosquitoes. Now, there have been a couple of times when I've been out. Once was Grasslands West Block. The mosquitoes were so bad, nothing worked. Like I
Mm.
just had to sit in my vehicle until it cooled off a little bit, and that was the only thing that settled the mosquitoes down.
Hmm. Yeah, it's we really have like a mosquito season here. So I kind of feel for Joey. I wonder where he's at because it sounds like it is really quite horrendous. Certainly, I've been in that situation a few times. Remember, I went to it wasn't like a star party per se. It was just like a club observing event in Ontario, and we had a couple nights up there, and the mosquitoes were just, I mean, you thought they might just carry you away. It was just that bad. And I used to have like one of those bug jackets, and I found that that would work to a certain extent, but it's hard to, I wanted just to cut like a little hole so I could look through the eyepiece kind of thing. Um, but it wasn't super amazing. Yeah. Um, I haven't tried any of the clothing yet though. That kind of intrigues me. Does it help keep them away from you in general, or just from like getting on that clothing?
A little bit of both. Like it sort of creates a zone around you, but I haven't used I haven't used it in thick mosquito country yet to really
Mm,
know how effective it is. Um, but when I have worn it, it hasn't it hasn't been as effective as I guess maybe I hoped. You know, like
mm,
they still seem to buzz around a little bit around my head, and that's kind of annoying as Joey alluded to.
mm.
Um, but they typically don't land on the clothing, and it does seem to, be effective at preventing the bites.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be something. Like here I find that we have um even when the mosquitoes are bad, there's like just the time of night and we get them really bad, those 2 or 3 hours right around sunset. And once you sort of avoid that period of time, but basically by the time it's totally dark, like dark enough, like quite dark, I find that even on bad nights they settle down quite a bit. And that was one of the deciding factors in getting a place that put getting a cabin ahead of just getting a piece of land and putting an observatory on it was that issue with having the mosquitoes so bad in the early evening. I remember one night, can't remember when this was. It wasn't that long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You and I went out to a road near my house, and the
Mm,
mosquitoes were so bad.
I
We
remember.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, it was an awesome night, and we said, forget it, and we just packed it. We never even took the scopes out. We kind of walked around and chatted for 20 or 30 minutes, and then we were like, we just can't do it. Like even getting in your car, you'd have so many mosquitoes in your car. It was just like all you wanted to do is just blast the air conditioning and get out of there and get home as soon as possible. You just really couldn't sort of be out and around, which was again something that always weighed on my mind because those nights end up lost. But I was like, I'm sure by the time it was dark an hour or two that they had gone away. And sure enough, like here, like a lot of nights in the spring, mid-spring, Mike will come out and we'll set up and we'll be swatting them like mad, get the scope set up, and then we'll just sit in here and have a tea or chat for sometimes like an hour or two and check periodically. And then by the time it is like truly dark, those mosquitoes typically are more or less a non-issue.
Yeah. Yeah. That one is almost guaranteed to work every time.
Yeah, yeah, just staying
Mm.
out. Like, because I used to find that as well, like back east where they can be, I don't know if worse is the right word, but definitely more persistent. And yeah, you just want to sit in your car until it kind of passes, and that's not fun. So I find like just having the ability to get in and out of them when they're at their worst. It's unfortunate because you want to set up your gear while it's still somewhat light out, especially in the in that spring time frame when it is light so late. It just would seem ridiculous just to be heading out at 10 or 11 o'clock. So to be able to go and set up at 8 or 9 and then wait it out for an hour or two. And then once the mosquitoes kind of go to bed. Yeah, and I've even like, of course, set up and then gone to bed for 2 or 3 hours and then gotten up around 11:30 or 12 and gone and observed until 2 or 3 in the morning. And even on really bad nights, you'll still have mosquitoes around. Like you're going to get a few bites, but I just don't use any bug repellent. That's just so bad around equipment. It's not
Yeah.
even funny.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm the same, and even when I'm not observing and I'm just outdoors in mosquito country, I still don't like using it. I just don't
mm,
want it on my clothes or on my skin. So
yeah, it's not good. Usually what I do is just spray it on my hat and, sleeves and that sort of thing.
mhm.
It's just, I don't know, it kind of gives me the creeps.
Yeah.
But yeah, fortunately, that's kind of how the mosquitoes here work in general. There's some years where, like you said, they're just so bad. There's just like, it almost feels like there's nothing you can do. I like, the idea of having like a bug suit like that or whatever. But definitely, I've had those nights. And yeah, but even still on those nights, usually once it's totally dark, they do end up settling down quite a bit. So
Mhm.
maybe we're just fortunate here that that's however the mosquito cycle goes in the run of the year and the night. Like right now, like I don't know whether it's the smoke or what. Not that we're having as much smoke as last year even, but I can't remember the last time I've seen a mosquito. Like it's been like a month. Like
Well,
we
it's been
haven't.
so dry. That's been a big part for us here.
Yeah.
Like they need water and they need heat. So you take one or both away
Mm,
and you don't see them. So, the lack of moisture is helping us. And then, yeah, every night it
mm.
cools off enough where they just become, they go back to their homes or wherever those are.
Yeah, up under leaves, I think. But yeah, it's just one of those things. So that's mosquitoes. Had an email from Alistair. Do you want to read this one on
Yeah.
the atmospheric dispersion compensator or ADC?
Yeah, so we did, or I think we had maybe another listener chime in about ADC, or I forget how we got onto it, but we talked about it at a previous episode. Alistair wrote us expressing some interest in this, and he went off and he purchased an ADC and sent us his report. So
Mm.
Alistair starts it off by saying "game changer!" exclamation mark. So the EADC from Sun Observer works like a hot damn. The only reason I can't give it 5 stars is the awkward instruction manual. First time I've seen diffraction rings on a star at 17 degrees altitude. Much crisper detail on Saturn. The shadow of the rings is a nice black line. Obviously, the previous software problems have been fixed. Support from Ted at Astro Tech and his word that I could return it if non-functional gave me the confidence. Might turn me into a planetary observer. It is
Never.
straight. What's that?
I'm just kidding. Keep going.
Okay. It is straightforward to compare before and after, as simple as removing and replacing a diagonal. You only have to wait 30 to 40 seconds for it to reinitialize when swapping in and out. It's not easy to impress me. It's like going from an F6 Acromat to an Apo. More complete review to come in Stardust. Now you know why it's been cloudy the last week.
Hmm.
Do we know which model he got or which?
Well, this is the EADC from Sun Observer through
That's
Astro
it.
Tech. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that's it. Which I understand there's there's like a whole gamut of these from really like inexpensive sub $100 units to ones that I think cost like thousands of dollars, right? But I think this is like a real like mid-tier kind of one. And Alistair kind of had explained in a previous email that this, from his research was supposed to be where it became a bit of a game changer. But this I find super interesting since I own a large Acromat now of F6. Um, But you and I have even noticed this as well, like observing Saturn in my Takahashi 4-inch f7.5. I can see some of that, especially last year when Saturn was fairly low still and still reasonably low this year. This appeals to me, and I think this one is like around a $500-ish unit. I'm gonna go and take. Did you go take a look for it?
Yeah, I have it here. It's 469
US.
pounds, I think. Or is that euros? I never remember the symbol from First Light Optics. So that would probably be pounds, I
Oh,
think.
I got it here in Canada. It's $607 from Telescope Canada.
There you go.
Yeah, I could see getting this. Although this has a 1-star review. Why did they give it a 1-star review? Sometimes, I don't know. It's just got a 1-star review without any,
Maybe like
oh,
Alistair
instruction.
alluded to some software issues. So maybe that's what this person was experiencing because Alistair mentioned that the software problems have been fixed.
Yeah, they had a broken link on theirs, like a broken connector or something. I don't know what they were doing with it. And then, yeah, it seemed like they were complaining about the instructions as well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it. So, not having good instructions when you're spending that much money can be frustrating. But
Mhm.
you have a good company like Astra Tech, and then I don't know, maybe that's all we need to do is just have Alistair write those instructions up. Be pretty easy. Well, he's like Alistair's an amazing writer, so
Yeah, he is.
if he can detail them out in like sort of a step-by-step format, then he's going to put it in the Stardust, which I'm thinking is the Edmonton RESC newsletter or something, and then maybe he can refine it and get them up online somewhere.
All
Because that
right.
interests me. That
Yeah.
interests me.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Ivan wrote, let's see. Ivan wrote us a bit of an observing report. Thanks for this, Ivan. Really appreciate it. Good morning, Chris and Shane. I just returned from seeing Jupiter and Mars conjoined in the early morning hours. After a pleasant evening at the movie theater watching Lawrence of Arabian, I took to bed and woke up at 4:30 a.m. I had been watching Jupiter and Mars dance about in the Hyades for the last couple of weeks, forming a beautiful triangle with Aldebaran in the first week of August. Thinking nothing more of the two planets other than an opportunity to observe them in the same patch of sky, the thought of a conjunction never occurred to me. So when I woke up, I looked at the time and figured a quick look at the planets wouldn't hurt. So I grabbed my Kenko 63 millimeter 800, which I'm guessing is a 63 millimeter refractor at 800 focal length, and stepped outside at 5 a.m., looking up the triangle of 2 weeks past turn into a needle arrowhead, and Mars and Jupiter were conjunct. Looking into the zoom eyepiece, I was astonished to find Mars and Jupiter within the same 1 degree field of view. I was already fumbling to swap out the 32 millimeter Plossl, but found myself admiring this creamy round disk of Jupiter's moons hung on both sides, contrasting with the small orange orb of Mars on the opposite edge of the field. I ran back inside the house for a phone and tripod and took some terrible looking pictures. Thank you for those, by the way. I think they're pretty cool. Samsung camera might night mode is not recommended, and manual pro mode is much better for this. By the time I took these, I took another look in the eyepiece and found the view getting dimmer. Looking up, clouds had started to move in. All in all, a very unexpected observing session. I was reminded of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction a few years back. Now having these conjunctions made their distinguishing features stand out in contrast. In that conjunction, in 10 by 50 binoculars, I would start to detect the disk nature of the planets as well as how the rings made Saturn oblate. Here, the relative disk size of the two planets stood out. Cordially, Ivan. Thanks so much for that, Ivan.
Yeah. Great email. Always enjoy hearing about observing, but once we start getting back into planet season, which we are, it gets me excited to read stuff like this.
Yeah, I haven't really been able to make any observations of Jupiter or Mars. I got up a couple mornings, just kind of looked at it naked eye, but
Mhm.
yeah, just didn't. The conditions just weren't great, and because it gets light at an awkward time right now at like 4 a.m., it hasn't been wonderful for trying to get up and observe. But good for you, Ivan, to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Should I read Mike's
Mm-hmm.
observing report? So Mike
Mm-hmm.
was at the Saskatchewan Summer Star Party in Cypress Hills Interprovincial Park, which was August 7th to 11th. He was there for a pretty good stretch. So Mike says weather was great this year. The smoke from forest fires was minimal and did not interfere with observing. Brought along the Interstellarum charts, 15 by 50 stabilized binoculars, and the 12-inch Dob. Wednesday evening, humidity was high and surfaces became wet as the night progressed. Skies were clear, 5 or 6 out of 10, and observing was possible by adapting to the conditions. Using the 12-inch truss Dob, it helped a lot that the primary and secondary mirrors were recently cleaned, so there was less particles on the surface of the optics for moisture to stick to. That's a good pro tip right there. Changed eyepieces frequently to allow the accumulated dew to dissipate. The eyepiece in the right angle finder is not changeable and fogged up a couple of times. A straight through finder would be better as gravity would deposit less dew on the eyepiece. Wednesday was a short session since we loaded gear in the morning and traveled the 4.5 hours to the site in the afternoon. Packed the scope in the back seat of the vehicle that night in case it stormed. Thursday looked promising late in the afternoon. The air became dry and stayed that way for the rest of the event. Unfortunately, clouds developed from the south at the beginning of the evening twilight, and by the time it was dark, stars appeared. We were left with trying to observe through those infamous sucker holes. We started to see a few bright Perseids even through the gaps in the clouds. Once the sky finally cleared after 12:30 or so, I observed the bright patches in the Milky Way to the south in Sagittarius with both binos and telescope. The sky was better this night, 7 out of 10, once the clouds went away. I spent some time looking at M22 every night. That has to be my new favorite globular cluster. It looks a bit oval-shaped, it's big, and there's individual stars plastered all over it. We just don't see it as often as some of the other large globs like M13, M15, and M3. This night, I just covered the scope and it stayed set up for the duration. The weather stayed nice and dry with very little wind. From that campsite, the sky was a lot like what we see from your observatory. All sky in the east, south, and west, and most of the sky to the north. Friday night was the best. It was perfectly clear, light wind from the east. We attended Gary Shmerkansky's binocular tour from 10 till 11:30. He kept a large group of people entertained, and everyone seemed to learn something new. I was sitting there, half listening and doing my own observing with binos. I could get the veil close to the zenith. We decided to go back to the scope. Veronica went to bed after midnight. I stayed up and observed by myself until 3 in the morning. Not sure exactly where I started, but observed a ton of objects, and the sky was good, at least an 8 out of 10. Made some notes that night and the next morning. With the 30 UFF, the veil at 60 times, no filter needed. Switched between the 30 and the 13 millimeter ethos with an 03 for a while. Pickering's triangle distinctly shaped. Many 11th magnitude stars equally spaced on the twists and turns of the larger lobe of the veil. I also used the 2 times 2-inch Televue Barlow that I picked up, used there. It's a nice one. Using it with the 30 millimeter, 20, and 13, I get 120 times, 172, and 265 times. Took the opportunity to view galaxies well placed within 20 degrees of zenith and pointed at 7331. It's like a mini Andromeda, 2 satellite galaxies just visible. Nudged over to Stephan's quintet to see 3 distinct roundish lobes, and the 4th is faint and the 5th is embedded in and close to the largest galaxy. That's a pretty good observation.
Mm-hmm.
Searched out T Corona Borealis. Nothing going on there yet.
Nope, not yet.
I think
Not until it
everybody's.
disappears. It's gotta get below the horizon. So
Of course.
then it will happen.
Yeah, I think everybody's looking at that almost every night now. Let's see here. So Rick included a finder chart and info page for everyone with their registration package. Continued observing, got the Helix Nebula and the eyepiece. It's easy to find in binos. At 60 times, it looked a lot like the sketch you made earlier this year,
Hmm.
but it looks less circular and more spherical with the gap in the middle kind of shaded in. Scanned through the Milky Way around the Summer Triangle, studied Barnard's EB143 and B142, and LDN 688 as it stretches away from 142.
Hmm.
Ever since I noticed 6802 in the coat hanger, I like to take a look at that small but interesting open cluster.
Yes, that's a little open cluster that's sort of embedded on the western side.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Very cool. He viewed M71 in Sagitta and M27 in Vulpecula, globulars 7006 and 6934 in Delphinus. Tried for the faint galaxy 6384 in Ophiuchus. Still could not quite get it. Maybe I need a bigger scope for that. IC 4665 is beautiful. The pattern of stars that spell high, HI, is upside down. Viewed the big Ophiuchus globulars M14, 10, and 12. Went back to the zenith area for Lyra's M57. I think it's cool that this planetary is visible in the binos as well.
Hmm.
It seems while reviewing this session, I realize all of the objects I missed observing. Anyway, M56 is a great target in a rich field of stars. M2, M15, which rivals M13 and M22 in size and brightness. Observed M31, 32, 110, all in the same field of view. NGC 147, 185, and 278. Over to Stock 2, which is great to see in a really dark sky, and it was dark out there. Only a small, distant, isolated glow from somewhere in the southeast. Checked out lots of other stuff all over the sky, including NGC 188 near Polaris, which is Chart 1 in Interstellarum. The double cluster, pretty spectacular out there. Kind of good timing with the previous episode, Chris. NGC 2403 for the first time. It's like a smaller M33 at a 45-degree angle and spiral structure detectable. M101 and NGC 5474, M51, 5195, M103, and then NGC 7789, M13, NGC 6207, M92, Riga well up by now for the Leaping Minnow, and M38, 37, 36, big open clusters. Then Pleiades, Hyades, back to Saturn, which only gets better as it rises higher. Saturn is getting good. A number of bands of different hues showing the 12-inch. The rings are highly condensed and concentrated. Must be pretty close to edge on as well, I would think. Notes end about here. Did a little observing Saturday, but the aurora popped up and some intermittent passing clouds, so nothing like the previous night, which was pretty fantastic. Saw some beautiful bright Perseids every night. Wished you could have been there. From Mike. So yeah, sounds like an awesome night and a really good trip.
Yeah, wish I had been there as well and not sick. That would have been awesome because I was really down for the count then, sadly to say. Well, the fire's out, so that's good.
Well, that's good. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, no, wait. It's still smoldering over there, but I think they've dumped something on it. Must be a grass fire or something. Glad it's on that side of the lake. How those sparks do travel. Yeah, so that's kind of it. We've had a few emails there. And Matt, Shane, did you get anything coming to you in the mail? Any recent purchases or anything of that nature?
No, sir. No, if anything is going to be in the mail, it will be things leaving my house, not coming to my house.
Are you selling off some stuff?
I have some Coronado eyepieces that I would like to sell. I have a little mini, like it's a Borg fork mount for very small telescopes or lightweight telescopes. I'd like to sell that. Maybe yeah, maybe some old binos as well, but I don't know. I just have to get around to posting it. So yeah, but nothing really on my wish list. I wouldn't mind a few more TMB super monos just to help kind of finish the set off, as well as maybe a couple, like get a couple pairs of some of the focal lengths for bino viewing. But other than that, I'm pretty content. How
Mhm.
about you? Anything coming in the mail?
No, well, I got these ADM plates. They just arrived. It was a bit of an epic thing getting these. Um, and then I'd like to get some replacement grub screws if I can figure those out. One thing I wouldn't mind getting is is one of the 12 millimeter 92 degree from Explore. If they have another sale at a weak moment, if I have a weak moment when they have another sale, I think I'll probably get one.
Okay.
Just love that 17 millimeter so much. Like when I'm observing, that gets so much use in my scope. It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
That is by far. But it's an observatory eyepiece. Like if you like, I couldn't imagine like that 17, it's awesome, but I don't take that traveling with me. It's because it's just like half the case, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's pretty heavy too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 2.5 pounds or something. It's
Hmm.
just big, awkward, blah, blah, blah. But in the observatory, that's like, it's all I want to use. Really, it
Hmm.
is. It's that good. And it's not great when you're manually slewing around, but with the electronic mount, it's awesome. It's just like a match made in heaven with the telescopes. Really, really is so nice. I just wish they had like the 12, I think I might get it, even though I have a 12 and a half Dark Terror, which is awesome when I'm traveling because it's so small, beautiful field, blah, blah, blah. But I think just with the way they made those Explorer 92s, you can just get the view in your eye so easily that
Hmm.
I wouldn't mind picking one of those up. Like I said, it would have to be on sale because I think new they're almost like 1,100 bucks Canadian or something like that. Not that they aren't worth it. They're quite a good eyepiece. I think that Explorer really knocked it out of the park. I just wish they would do like a 22 or something like that would be so amazing. And I mean, even if it was like a 3.5 pound eyepiece, I would do it. I would go for it at 3.5 pounds, even if as long as it's under 4 pounds, I would get it,
Hmm.
even if it was quite big and whatever. Because the 17, when it's set up in the observatory running on the scope, it's totally fine. Totally fine. I could go a little bit bigger even still, I think. But yeah, 12, I think, yeah, just for the observatory. I could just imagine observing mostly with like the 17, 12, and then I'm thinking about getting maybe a couple Barlows for them just because they do work so well. It would be nice to have some other focal lengths, but that's my biggest complaint with them, really.
Hmm. Hmm. Did they? I think they just had a sale, didn't they? Or maybe it's even still on. I
I don't know.
thought.
They did have one, but this eyepiece is not currently available, as far as I
Mm,
know.
okay. Yeah.
I'll
I.
go look again, but I was looking because I remember there was a sale and I looked and it wasn't plus I have to like, I'm still spending money through the nose in the observatory. None of this stuff is that expensive, but these plates and everything were like, or these saddles were like a couple $100 before shipping US. 300 bucks, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, it
No, I
all
didn't.
adds up for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. But sort of feel like I'm getting to the end of the road and the remaining work. Well, getting the observatory wired up, I think that's going to be an expense. But that's my last big expense with it once I pay for the cement and angle iron and all that stuff, which wasn't too bad. A couple $100, and then labor and that sort of thing. So it's not crazy. My builder just does it around like his other jobs when he has like a free afternoon or something like that. So
Hmm.
it's worked out really well. Yeah, it's slow, but like his work is just amazing. He's an awesome builder, and yeah, I can't believe what he's done there. Definitely, I'm gonna yeah have to do something special for him after crawling under the observatory to do all that work. So he's got another trip under there to go to when he wires it in. So uh, we'll see. We'll see. He may never want to crawl under there again. So I might be running an extension cord there for the rest of my life. But worse things have happened. But it looks pretty nice though, the way that he did it with the angle iron and the cement. It looks a little bit more finished now, so it's pretty nice.
Yeah, cool.
Getting there, getting there. Still smoking over there, but it's settling down. Hopefully, not another big fire like we had last April. So fingers crossed we get some of this rain this week and the smoke will move out and we can get some observing in, Shane.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. This is the best time of the year for me for observing it, or my favorite anyway. So I'm hoping we have some good conditions for it.
And you're going away, I think.
Yeah, I'll spend a week in Montreal here in Canada, and just a pleasure vacation with my wife to get away and go to a place we haven't been before. So excited for that.
So what Shane is doing is, see, there was this big landslide and flood there in the Chilcotin River, and he's going to go up, and I see that they think it might have released some gold deposits. So he's taking his wife up to pan for gold, people. I'm sure that's what he's doing. He hasn't said that officially, but
I could pay for my trip.
Panning for gold.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'll give it a try.
All right, man, you're not really doing that. Have a good trip.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe, share the show with other stargazers. You know you can always reach us at actualastronomy@gmail.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you are interested in more information, would like to contact us, or if you would like to support the podcast, check out our website, actualastronomy.com.